This is why we call these tax rates capital gains rates, right? You're not taxed on the capital. You're just taxed on the gain on that capital. So this is just another of the many, many, many ways that capital is prioritized is advantaged in our society. Welcome to the Sunlight Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, tax pro, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative or soul-centered entrepreneur or wellness practitioner who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Hello. Nice to be with you today. I want to talk to you today about investing. I'm going to keep it nice and light and easy, but I'm writing the chapter in my book right now about investing. And to be honest, there is so much to cover that it's going on forever and it's really hard. But I realized that as I'm writing this chapter, that most of us really do not receive the basic information we need about investing. I think we should all receive it in school because it would make you better, it put you in a better position lifelong in your personal finances. But a lot of the stuff about like why you should bother and why compound interest is so powerful, why it really is possible to retire when you have a modest savings habit and you invest the money that you save. These are all kind of amazing things to know. And when you look at the math, it is so compelling. But I just think a lot of us never got it. And so I am really kind of taking it on as I write this book to be the person to deliver that to you. I hope that this book is not just helpful for people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s who never got this information, but maybe for your teenager, who is encountering it for the very first time. So with that said, today I'm going to talk to you about investing. But first, I just wanted to talk for just 2 or 3 minutes about the other side of taxes, about the upcoming presidential and local elections. And I want to connect the dots for you on something that I think we don't connect often enough. So I'm here every week talking about taxes, right? But I think a lot of us don't connect taxes with representation, with elections, with policy. The fact of the matter is, taxes are a two-sided coin. Right? The American Revolution was not fought because we were being taxed. It was fought because we were being taxed without the representation that goes with that, right? When you are taxed, you deserve. The other side of that coin is that you get to choose who allocates those dollars, how those dollars are used, what society you want to build with those dollars. And this can vary really dramatically from one society to another. And depending on who is out there exercising their political power. And this is why I'm such a huge advocate for women, for queer folks, for people socialized in different genders, for anybody who is from an historically marginalized group. I really care that your voice is amplified, your voice is heard. I want you to take up the space that you rightfully deserve in our society. And part of that, not just paying your taxes, part of that is about helping to get out the vote, helping to elect politicians who have good policy ideas, who are capable, and who are going to implement policies that will help your life improve and communities you care about do better and put forward platforms with issues that matter to you. So I just wanted to talk to you super briefly today about what I'm doing in the upcoming elections. Hopefully as a way to just maybe inspire you, maybe give you an idea of a place to start if you're feeling a little bit like, I want to get involved, but I don't know how. So here's what I'm doing. First of all, I really encourage you, yes, take on all the energy and excitement of the presidential race. That is awesome. More voters vote in presidential elections. It's a well-known fact. But I encourage you not to forget your local elections. Local elections are incredibly important. your governor of your state, your representatives in Congress and the Senate, and also your representatives in your state house are incredibly important. They actually have a much bigger impact on the laws that affect you in the everyday than federal policies do. So in many ways, who represents you in the state house, in the state that you live, is more important than your congressional representatives. So don't forget that. Know who's on the ballot. This is step one. Take a minute to look at who's on the ballot and what, first of all, like what district you're in and who's running. Those smaller office candidates often really could use your help. And not only that, but your donations go farther in those campaigns. Your phone calls and door knockings go farther. And also those campaigns tend to be really much less polarized and much more about brass tacks issues. So if you feel kind of, like electoral politics has become very calcified, which they have, I think it can be a real source of hope to get involved in local elections because you know what? Democrats, Republicans, independents, we all need our trash collected. You need your basic city services to be really functional, and it's not really ideological at that level. So don't forget your local stuff. Also, remember that there are bond issues out there. So I just was having a conversation with my dear friend who's on the city council here in Asheville, and there is a bond issue coming up that's going to be on the ballot this year, which is a massive, very important issue to make much needed investments in the city where I live, in sidewalks, in public safety, in health, in the environment. Really, really important issues. I live in a city that's been growing really rapidly, and we need a lot of infrastructure to keep up with all the growth. And without this bond passing, we're just kind of scraping by and things are getting broken and we don't have the money to fix them. So I've realized personally that I can help out with this bond issue. I believe I'm about to join the steering committee for the bond. This is something you can do in your area as well. So make a little donation and, just talk to your neighbors about the bond or whatever local issue it is for you. So don't forget your local politics. Okay. So what am I doing for the elections? One, I'm writing postcards to inconsistent voters just to encourage them to make a voting plan and to get out and vote. There is an organization called Postcards to Swing Districts. I will put a link in the show notes. You can just go on to this organization's website and for free, you just sign up. If you want to receive 50, 100, 200, 500 postcards, they will send them to you for free. They give you the message to write. There's nothing partisan about these postcards. They're really get out the vote postcards, and they're really awesome. They are shown to increase voter participation and get out the vote. So if you're interested in that, it's a thing you can do like while you watch TV at night, or, I do it when I'm waiting for my family to put their shoes on. I can write 5 postcards. So that's a really cool thing to do. I highly encourage it. Check the link in the show notes for that. Also with my girls, I am making friendship bracelets, like the Taylor Swift friendship bracelet thing. We have been doing that with bracelets for, red, white, and blue vote bracelets that say vote, which we plan to give out, possibly sell at some voter registration drives. We're also doing some Kamala is Brat friendship bracelets and other funny meme type messages. It's just a lot of fun. We just sit around, think of new funny things to say on the bracelets. One of the kids came up with, "Yes, we can." For Kamala. So that's been really fun. And it's just a way to get my kids involved in, excitement about the election. And we may end up using these bracelets as part of a fundraiser, or maybe just for a sort of spirit and vibes. Another thing that I'm doing with these 2 activities is trying to use moments like the Democratic Convention or the debate to gather friends and bring postcards and these bracelet materials and just get together with other people, talk about the issues, watch a debate, make bracelets, write postcards, and just activate your network, your community, right? This is a really fun thing you could do. I know you could gather at a bar after a workout class, or there's lots of different ways you could kind of bring in your community to a little bit of activism in a way that feels really gentle and fun and not quite as scary as knocking on doors and making phone calls. Of course, if you want to knock on doors and make phone calls, those are the things that every campaign needs and wants from you. And it's, the most effective thing you can do. So if you want to be effective, you got to knock on doors and make phone calls now all the way through to the election. And then one other thing that I did just this weekend, and I feel really proud of and excited about, is with my assistant, Mark, actually, I designed a yard sign with a QR code to the voter registration site. And it's a yard sign that says, "Are you registered to vote at your current address?" Your current address is a really important thing in voting. You need to be registered, not where you just moved from, but at the current address, right? So we designed a design that says that in nice bold letters with a big QR code in the middle of the thing. And then it says at the bottom, like a little tip, like text this code to a friend. And my idea is I'm going to put these signs. I got 50 signs printed. I used my own money. And then I asked for some donations from just friends and family to help me defray the cost of these yard signs. And I'm just going to put them up in my yard and around town on the college campuses nearby to just be an easy way for somebody who's walking by with their phone to just grab that QR code and check if they're registered to vote in the right place, right? It feels like something that's pretty easy to do and doable. I also am making the PDF version of this available publicly. I'm going to send it out on my newsletter this week. So if you're on my newsletter, you will get that. And I'm just giving it away. This is, free for anybody to use. If you want to print postcards, yard signs, bumper stickers, whatever, I encourage you to absolutely use these PDFs that I have made in your own neighborhood. Get people registered to vote around you. So that's a thing that I'm doing and I feel good about. And I think that you can do too if you want to join in. If my newsletter's already gone out when you're listening to this and you missed it, feel free to DM me on Instagram at Sunlight Tax, and we will happily send you one of the PDFs, the PDF file, just so that you can use it. I really want anybody who wants it to have it. Okay, so that's kind of where my activism around this election is located at this moment. There's more to come, a little bit of organizing an event with a friend for my dance class. And I'm also talking with my precinct about helping to organize some of the college students at UNC Asheville, near where I live, which is actually in my precinct. So we'll see. I'm open to your suggestion for sure. And I'm definitely interested in what you're doing this election, both in not just in the, the presidential election, but the local issues. What are you doing to help your friends and family and your neighbors know what is going on? And how are you helping to make sure people are registered, know about the issues, and get out to vote? Let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. All right. So let's talk about investing. I'm writing my chapter on investing right now in my book. And I think, first I want to just talk to you. I thought I would read to you 2 paragraphs out of my draft that will go into my book, possibly very changed and edited. But I wrote a little bit about just why in general you should be investing. And so I'm going to read you these 2 paragraphs, hopefully to get you a little bit fired up. And then I just want to talk about the taxes. How do you get taxed when you invest? Because I think just knowing that core issue helps you understand how advantageous investing is to your finances. All right. So there are 2 different tax rates. There's actually multiple tax rates, but the 2 big tax rates under US tax code are taxes on ordinary income. So think of that as earning, what you earn. Most Americans earn their income. They work for a living. And so this is how most of us are taxed. But the 1% are primarily taxed only through capital gains, right? So capital gains is how your investments are taxed. And your investments are taxed at a much more favorable tax rate. Capital gains rates go from 0 to 20%, depending on your income. And ordinary income or earnings are taxed at 0 to 37%, depending on your income. In other words, it's cheaper. Your taxes are less on owning things than on earning things. Okay. And so here's a little piece from my book just to kind of address maybe some of the feelings you might have around that. From my book, here's a quote. Think of these different tax rates as owning versus earning. You're taxed less on owning, capital, than you are on earning, ordinary income. And welcome to capitalism. Now you see why we call it that. Before your knee-jerk anti-capitalist gag reflex kicks in, and believe me, I get it, I want you to consider that you too can benefit from capitalism's perks. Essentially, that is what investing is at the basic level. And who better to benefit than you? Who better than a small business owner who is trying to operate ethically and make the world a better place? Who better than someone from a historically marginalized group whose ownership in this society has been thwarted for too long? If someone's going to take up space in the capitalist area of ownership, why not you? And what exactly are the perks of ownership? Lower tax rates, compound interest, taxation only when you sell, not every time you get a paycheck. The ability to trade up without paying any tax, tax-advantaged accounts to put your investments into, like IRAs and 401ks, where your money grows even faster. Tax-free transfers of wealth to your kids, generational wealth building. And the very best perk, when you own, your money works while your body rests. This is how you get off the hustle bus. This is how you retire. And it's also how your voice gets heard in the companies you own and in our society at large. And ethical investing is a thing. It's called environmental, social, and governance, or ESG investing. ESG investing isn't perfect, but it's still pretty cool. So rather than slip back into our anti-capitalist comfort zone, I ask you to try on a new look. Think about the world you can help create by being an owner in capitalism itself. Rather than insult the party we weren't invited to, let's crash this party and get the DJ spinning the music we like better. You with me? All right. So that is my intro to my investment chapter. I hope you like it. If you do like it, I really hope you're going to get my book. I'm putting so much heart into writing this book, and I really am trying to make it the best book you've ever read. So hopefully that got you a little bit inspired. I just want to talk about those tax rates a little tiny bit before I close out for the day. So ordinary income tax rates, the rate you pay on what you earn, are higher than capital gains rates. And capital gains rates are the rates you pay on what you own, on what you invest in, right? They're more advantageous than you even realize because you can put your investments inside these tax-advantaged accounts like your solo 401k, your SEP IRA, your traditional or Roth IRA, and they grow tax-free inside those accounts. So there's really a ton that's amazing about them. The other thing about investing is that the capital that you put into the investment never gets taxed at all, right? When you make an investment, say you invest $100 into, a basket of stocks through an index fund. If I put $100 in and I make, a couple years down the road, I make 130, that money grows to be $130. Well, my tax is not paid on $130. My tax is only paid on $30. It's only taxed on the growth, on the gain. This is why we call these tax rates capital gains rates, right? You're not taxed on the capital. You're just taxed on the gain on that capital. So this is just another of the many, many, many ways that capital is prioritized is advantaged in our society. So I just want you to kind of stick that in your pipe and smoke it. And to remember that ordinary income or your earnings are taxed up to 37%, depending on your income tax bracket. But capital gains rates are between 0 and 20%. And that 20% high rate is only if you're making over $500,000, only over $500,000 per year. For most of us, capital gains rates are 15%, which is pretty damn low. And if your income is under $94,000, your capital gains rate is 0. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm making almost nothing, but I'm investing, I'm taking the modest savings that I can get and I'm investing it. I just want you to know that the tax code is actually there for you to give you this unbelievable low/0 tax rate on your capital gains. So it's really to your benefit, no matter what income tax bracket you are in, to invest. So I think today might be, I should call this episode the argument for investing. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about paying fees, what those investments, the hidden costs of investing. These are very, very important to understand. Of course, taxes are one of the biggest ones. There's something clearly it is my job to pay a lot of attention to. But also advisor fees can really eat into your investments. So next week, I want to spend some time talking to you about fees and how those impact your investments. But for now, I just want to give the rah, feel good version of why you should be investing, why it's important for you, specifically you, to be investing, and why it is so advantageous to do so. Now, if you feel like you would like this kind of education in general, I go even deeper into the ways that this, geometric curve of growth of your money works with your investments inside a free class that I offer, that I have available for you on demand. So just if you've never learned about the growth curve of compound interest, I give a really good explanation and some teaching about how that works inside a free class that I offer. And if you are interested in registering, signing up for that class, it's called Make Taxes Easier and Stash an Extra $130K in Your Savings. And you can register for that at go.sunlighttax.com/register. The class is free. It's 1 hour. It does talk about my program. You can skip that part or you can listen, but you can see that class, see that really, really good explanation of how your money grows at go.sunlighttax.com/register. And I also want to let you know that, of course, in my program, Money Bootcamp, I teach you how to invest. So everything that I give, the best version is always inside my program, Money Bootcamp. And I am so proud of my investment training inside my program, because I teach you about fees. I teach you about how to vet an advisor, if you even need one at all, which I don't necessarily think that you do. And I just teach you in a disinterested way how investing works. I don't make money off anybody investing, which is why I am able to give completely objective teaching. So if you're interested in coming to an open house to see inside my program, Money Bootcamp, and it's a place where you can ask me questions about the program, I'm hosting that on Thursday, September 5th at noon Eastern time. And I will put the link in the show notes for you to register for the open house, which is just a place for you to come, spend a little time with me, get on Zoom with me, look inside, literally what is inside the program, and ask any questions you've got. So the link to register for the open house for my program is inside the show notes. And again, if you're interested in watching a free class called Make Taxes Easier and Stash an Extra $130K in Your Savings, and in that class, which is free, I do give this really good explanation of how compound interest works for you when you have money invested. It's a really, really good explanation. You can sign up and watch that class on demand at go.sunlighttax.com/register. It's been so great to talk to you today. I hope that you go forth and advocate for who you want to be elected, what policies you want to get into place. Do a little research on your own district, see who's representing you, and if any of those campaigns need some help, and reach out to me if you want to get that QR code, that poster about registering people in your neighborhood to vote. All right, it's been great to be with you. I will talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review. It really helps, and share it with a friend. I'm so grateful. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links we reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.